Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Open Book. I am Billy Price. I am the co-founder of Billy Footwear. And for those out there that are not familiar with Open Book is something we do every single week. At least we try to do it every single week. But it's an opportunity for us to be able to share a little bit about the brand, but also an amazing opportunity for us to talk about and give the microphone to amazing organizations that we have the opportunity to collaborate with. So today we are absolutely honored. We have the Northwest Rett Syndrome Association today. We have Megan, who is the president, and we have Harley, who is on the fundraising committee. So welcome both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, there's so many things I want to ask you, and I'm just excited to jump in and start off this conversation. So I think the great place for us to start is, Megan, if you could just tell us, what is the Northwest Rett Syndrome Association?
So the Northwest Rett Syndrome Association is a group of people who have been affected by Rett syndrome. So we have parents, grandparents, providers, medical providers, caretakers, and of course the individuals who have Rett syndrome who come together. And our mission is really about connection, education, and advocacy. And we try to gather and help new families who are coming into the fold learn more about Rett syndrome and find that connection with our other families, because it is a rare occurrence. About 1 in 15,000 to 20,000 births is somebody with Rett syndrome. So there's not a lot of us out there, and our connection is really important.
So I know that I know there's lots of organizations around the country and probably around the world for that matter. How long has the Northwest Rett Syndrome Association been around?
A very long time. We started, I believe, in 1983. A provider at OHSU kind of had this aha moment. She was a neurologist, and one of the, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if she was a neurologist. I think, I forget exactly what Dr. Budden was, but she had read a paper, and it kind of set off this aha moment because one of her patients was sort of undiagnosable. They thought it was this, they thought it was that, and it wasn't. And then she heard about Rett syndrome and helped kind of diagnose the first patients in the Northwest with some help. And the original families of these patients that she saw gathered together with their wonderful speech, occupational and physical therapist, Dr. Budden herself, and formed this group because they saw a need for it. And ever since then, they've been meeting every year, at least, except for during COVID, and trying to stay connected and learn together, cope together, and be together.
Wow, awesome. So Megan, I have one more question for you, then I'll throw it to Harley. Megan, so how did you get involved?
After my daughter was officially diagnosed, which takes place with a blood test, that was December, and she was 2.5 at that point. We had gone the next month to Rett Clinic at OHSU in Portland, where we see a pediatric specialist and occupational speech and physical therapist who are familiar with Rett. And then at the time, the Rett Syndrome Association was putting on a lunch, and so I got to meet other families with children with Rett syndrome. And they told me about this conference and the NWRSA. And so that summer, right after my daughter had turned 3, we went to the conference and we met all these amazing, wonderful people who've become like family. And at the conference, they had needed volunteers in certain areas, and I volunteered and got involved. And here I am today.
Awesome. Well, Harley, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And I know you're on the fundraising committee, but what brought you to Northwest Rett Syndrome Association?
My sister has Rett syndrome. She is 37. And so as far back as I can remember, 20 years or so, I've been attending Rett conferences and, visiting with families and making friends. And so that's really where my connection started. I can't remember the very first conference I went to. I think it was in Seaside, 20 years ago. And there's nothing like it. It's like being with family, and everybody, and the connection that you have with other individuals and families is amazing. So that's where I started, was just going to conferences. And then a month ago, I had reached out and wondered if they needed help with the fundraising committee. And so that's where my connection started.
Awesome. Well, so I have a question for you. So often I get the chance to either talk to someone that has a disability or talk to a family member that has a child with a disability. I don't really get the opportunity very often to talk with a sibling or talk with the sibling of someone with a disability. So, I mean, I myself have a disability. I use a wheelchair. I have a spinal cord injury from years and years ago. So I know the relationship between myself and my sister. I'm just kind of curious, how was it growing up with the sibling that had Rett syndrome?
I wish I had a good answer for you, and I don't. I wouldn't know anything different.
Yeah.
So, she's my sister. And so growing up, I didn't acknowledge or know that she had a disability or that she was different. She was just my sister, and she still is. So, everything that we do together, whether we go shopping or doctor's appointments or, to a fair or a farm or anything that we do, we go as siblings. And so I never thought of it as anything different. So I don't really have a great answer to that, unfortunately.
Well, I absolutely love I mean, that's the perfect answer, in my opinion, because my sister gets asked the same thing, and that's the same answer she replies with. It's just it's life, It's life. We're a family, and we're gonna move forward together.
Exactly.
I'm curious how, and this could be a question for both of you. Well, I guess it's more of a statistic. How big is the Northwest Rett Syndrome Association?
I like to refer to us as kind of a micro nonprofit. We have about 200 registered families, but our statistics, we have about 200 registered families. It kind of moves left and right, sort of, with people who have lost their child or lost touch with the foundation, and then we're always getting new families in as well. So,
and also, how far is the reach?
So we cover most of the Northwest, so Washington, Oregon. This is my son Loic. Washington, Oregon, Idaho, parts of Northern California, into Montana. We don't have any families in Montana yet. And then Alaska and parts of British Columbia and Alberta as well.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Wow. So I'm kind of curious. I mean, to bring all these families together, obviously, there's so much involved that to keep the machine going. And with any nonprofit, I know that there's two real foundational pieces. One is the community itself, but secondly, it's the revenue stream coming in. So when new people find out about your organization, and they want to participate, or they also want to help, what is the best way to, I guess, Harley, this is kind of a question for you. What's the best way that people can actually financially help?
To be honest, monetarily, sometimes getting to the conference and attending the conference and, traveling to them can be such a strain on families. And then, it's not only going to the conferences, who is going to host the conference? And so we have to find a facility large enough to host all the families that are coming, that has a big enough conference room, that has, accessible hotel rooms and bathrooms. And so I think, I could be wrong, but I think that monetarily is the best way.
Awesome. Well, this is probably a good thing to, I'll bring up. Let me bring up the website right now, because I know, so everyone else that's either watching right now, you can see this up on screen, or those that are listening in. They have an awesome website, very informative. It's the northwestrettsyndrome.org. It's NWRETTSYNDROME.org. And I know on that website, there is a big old button that says donate. And I think there's also some information that's touching on an upcoming event. So Megan, can you touch on that?
Yes, we have our annual family gathering this year. It's a symposium where we have educational speakers come, and it's our one time of year that a lot of our families gather together, and it's sometimes the only time of year that we get to see other families and their Rett person, which is really important for making connections and getting that time together is really special. And we also have our auction, which this year is going to be available to attendees who are at the conference and our friends and family who can't make it this year. It'll be available online. So that's exciting for us. It's the first time we're able to do that. And we're hoping that that's a big success.
Wow,
Our
awesome.
dates are, it's right around the corner. It's July 11th through the 14th.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll make sure to include that in the show notes. I mean, July, wow, that is right around the corner.
Yes.
Where is the symposium going to be?
So it'll be in Salem at the Grand Hotel this year.
Wonderful. Okay.
It's a beautiful venue.
Yeah. So I know that it sounds like, I mean, you have quite the reach. I mean, it's spanning like geographically multiple states and now even like multiple countries at this point. Lots of families, now into being in a digital space, you know, people can chime in and participate even if they're not in the area. What do you see as some really big goals like coming up in the future?
As a whole community, kind of not just our own community, is we're on the precipice of a cure. There's been, for the first time ever in the last year, a drug that came out. It was the first one to treat the symptoms of Rett syndrome, of which there are a lot of symptoms of Rett syndrome. For example, my daughter, she has seizures and a slow GI tract, and she can't walk and she can't talk, and she's 8. She is a second grader mentally, but cannot get out the words and the expression to kind of participate in life the way other second grader would. There's also some gene therapies on the horizon that have gone into clinical trials. So we're all anxiously awaiting those results and where that leads for our family members who have Rett syndrome. So as a larger community, that's all what we're hoping for. For us, with the Rett Syndrome Association in the Northwest, we're hoping to just gather in more families for that time of being together. And like Harley said, it's like a family, but beyond that, for people who have a child with Rett syndrome, whether you're a sibling or a parent or a grandparent, there's a unspoken understanding that comes when you gather together that's unlike anything in the world, and it relieves a lot of the burden of daily life, I guess you could say. So continuing to offer those opportunities for our families is going to be really important to our organization.
You know, so hearing your words, it takes me on memory lane to my own rehab, like when I was in the hospital. And so I mean, I grew up as an independent kid. I broke my neck at 18, and I was really trying to grapple with this new world, as were my parents. And just that sense of community that you're talking about, and being able to talk to somebody that isn't necessarily going to give you like an answer to your unanswerable question. It's more of just being there with you and being present and being that shoulder to either cry on or that ear to hear or listen and share. And there's so much power in that, and there's so much healing in that when we're able to come together and be vulnerable. And then also, like, by being vulnerable, you also are empowered as well. So I don't know. I mean, Harley, could you touch more on like that? I mean, it sounds like you've been given, like, you've gone to so many of these events. I mean, that spark, that chemistry, and that community feelings at these events, I'm sure you felt it since way back when.
You know, you do. And it's, you know, there's some people that, you know, you see them at the conference and you just hug them and cry because, you know, it's not only, you know, they understand, but they've become your extended family, and you miss them so much because you see them once a year because they live in a different state or several states away. But there truly is nothing like it. It's a family. And, you know, Megan hit it on the head. There's nothing like it. There's no other experience like it. Being able to be with these people who understand exactly what you're going through. You don't have to explain a doctor's appointment or a neurology appointment with these other families because they're doing it right there with you. You know, the trials and errors of medications. Oh, this one worked for us. Did it work for you? No, I've never heard of that. What is that? You know, it's a fantastic place to be.
One of the very first phrases that the very first family I met had said when they asked if my daughter also had Rett, I said yes. They said, well, welcome to the best family that you never wanted to be a part of. And I think that's something we sort of reiterate because it's true. You don't want, you want your children to be healthy as possible. But meeting all of these people has been one of the absolute best parts of Rett syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm. Well, you guys, I mean, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I want to be respectful of your time. I'm really excited to hear how the upcoming symposium goes. But before I let you guys go, I just want to give you the mic one more time. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to share before we let our guests go?
I just wanted to say thank you for giving us this opportunity. And thank you to all of our parents and families and volunteers who keep our organization going because it's important and it's close to our hearts.
It is, and Megan hit it on the head. We want to thank you for giving us a platform to speak about it, and more so, giving us the opportunity to partner with you for the organization is just a fantastic experience, and we're so looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, it is our sincere pleasure. I mean, it's we're better together, and that's a mentor of mine said that to me way back when, and we're better together, and it just really stuck with me because it is so absolutely true. Everyone else that was listening in, again, let's go through some of this, how you can get in contact or how you can learn more about the Northwest Rett Syndrome Association. Again, the website, northwestrettsyndrome.org. And then one thing we didn't talk about was on social. On social, they have Facebook and Instagram. Their handle is at Northwest Rett Syndrome. So NWRETTSYNDROME. Megan and Harley, thank you so much again for your time. This is such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone
else out there, this was another episode of Open Book. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll have another one again real soon. So until then, take care.